So folks, it's Hesh. This is my first webcam video ever. It's kind of strange to be watching myself, but I want to talk to you tonight about being Frum and Off the Derech at the same time. I know you thought it wasn't possible. After all, we've been hearing about Pearl Perry Reich and Deborah Feldman and all that's been the anti-Hasidic movement, and then, of course, it brought a lot of attention to Off the Derech people. A friend of mine is moving to Oregon, and he says to me, Hesh, I'm moving to Corvallis, Oregon, and there's no Jews there. Well, there's Reconstructionists, but they're not really counted as Jews. And he says, I have to go like 45 minutes to Chabad. It's going to be such a schlep to go to a normal shul. And I said to him, I'm like, you don't even believe in God. What do you have used for from Jews? He's like, sometimes you just need some from Jews. Reminds me of a story a friend of mine told me. He's an atheist, and he, grew up from pretty yeshivish, and he's dating an atheist as well. And her grandfather is a Frum atheist. And he says, I don't understand. You go to shul every day, you put on tefillin, you learn, you keep Shabbos, you do everything. And he says, but you're an atheist. What's the point? Because we normal Frum people usually view everything as the entire point is for God. And he says, what kind of Jew doesn't put on tefillin in the morning? And I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, there's kind of this thought process, and this gets discussed in San Francisco a lot about whether or not we even need God to be Frum. Because a lot of times it just becomes this tradition and this culture. A lot of people say they're culturally Jewish, which is a strange thing to say, because the people who say they're culturally Jewish usually have the least amount of any sort of cultural Jewish items. They're not going to shul, they're not putting on tefillin, they're doing tikkun olam and klezmer. Is that Jewish culture? I mean, is that what it is? I mean, to me, Jewish culture would be doing the holidays and, doing, various things which are cultural. I don't know. So I was thinking about my other friends who are from and off the derech, like the type of people who you'll ask, they won't put on a light for you. They won't put on the TV for you. Those people are like, well, you can't get benefit. I mean, if I'm the Chal Shabbos for you, I can't give you benefit. So they know all the rules to the point where if you aren't yet off the derech, but you're kind of in that you're sitting around, it's Friday, and someone turns on the TV and you don't leave. I don't know if you actually know this, but I remember when I was in Or Sameach, come back from Yom Kippur night, and I walk into my room, and I look in the room across the hall, and there's five guys sitting around, smoking weed, watching Super Troopers. So, yeah, I sat down on Yom Kippur and watched Super Troopers, and I didn't feel like I sinned, but obviously it wasn't in the spirit of the law and whatever, so maybe you could have called me from and off the derech. Of course, I'm not off the derech. I, keep everything and do everything, but I'm, accustomed to meeting people who are totally off the derech, and can't really call them off the derech. I have a friend who's not really off the derech. Sometimes he doesn't do Shabbos, sometimes he drives, sometimes he does certain things. But in the grand scheme of things, he puts on his tefillin once in a while. He would never sell his tefillin. When he goes on vacation, he takes his tefillin. A lot of people do that. A lot of people haven't gone the whole way. They'll eat out at certain places, but they won't go to Sizzler. You can't even, there's a modicum of even sort of from at Sizzler. You go to McDonald's, you get the French fries, fine, they're fried in beef fat, but psychologically it's kosher. You go to vegan, you go to here, you go to there, but Sizzler to me is the most gunnish restaurant in the world. It's just not even, it doesn't even have there's no Frumkeit. It's devoid of Frumkeit. Even Trafe in New York City to me is like a Frum off the derech place. They're taking this off the derech culture and they're trying to bring it to mainstream, but in the end, there's this. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but if you know who you are, you know who you are. You people who, forget that they're eating treif and they wash. I've met a lot of people who have washed for cheeseburgers. Or when they're eating their cheeseburger on Pesach, they take off the bread. Or they peel off the cheese. Or they take off the pepperoni of their pizza. You can't bring themselves to like go all the way there, despite the whether or not, I mean, it's not about believing or not. A lot of times it's just about maintaining some identity as an Orthodox Jew or a formerly Orthodox Jew without just throwing it away. So, yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to stop this now.